led you to study naturopathic medicine?
I had always wanted to go into a health profession, but I wasn't sure which one yet. And actually a friend of mine who got into naturopathic medicine a year before me, I decided she really loved it and she had suggested it to me. So I actually precepted with a couple NDs in Kitchener-Waterloo, which is where I was living at the time. And I really liked how naturopaths try to figure out the root cause of the problem and spend time with their patients. And so that's kind of what intrigued me and attracted me to naturopathy, and also sort of like the figuring out of the puzzle of, you know, what's going on with the patient, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then what led you to decide to become a resident?
I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to open a practice after. My husband, who I was dating at the time, was still in school, and he's a chiropractor, and he was in chiropractic school, and eventually the thought was that we would practice together. But the residency program was attractive because I wanted to learn to be an educator, and that's really what it taught me. It also taught me to be a good speaker, which I still use today, through doing the grand rounds, which was basically presenting case studies to the school body, things like that. So,
Great. What were you hoping to learn from embarking on the residency program? So did you go in with a certain goal of, okay, this is what I definitely want to learn when I go into it? And was there anything concrete that you were hoping, when I go in here, this is definitely what I want to take out of it?
I can't say I had a plan like that. I definitely enjoyed my education at the college. And so I kind of wanted to stay and expand on my skills in whatever way that meant, but I didn't have sort of an endpoint outcome. This is what I want to get out of it. But I felt like, I should stay for a few more years and just see what more I can learn before going out and practicing.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. After you began the residency, was there something that you're like, okay, I want to really make sure to do this before I leave, or to instill this while I'm here?
In myself or the students? Or
good question.
I don't know.
I'd say both.
But when I went into the program, I had always been, so I like the education part of it, TAing and that sort of thing. And I think my style was more, I wanted the students to figure out things on their own, which is problem-based learning. Mm-hmm. So I was the sort of teacher and TA where I gave them a little bit more flexibility to try things out or figure things out. I think that was my approach also as a supervisor. And I think that reflects on how I work with my patients too. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not like, okay, this is the one way and this is the only way you can do it. It's more of a discussion and what do you think and so on. So I think that's probably my main style that came out of TAing and what I figured out about myself. I did go into the residency program thinking, I need to do some research. I felt like if I was published or if I did research, that made me feel like, yes, I'm a resident. You know what I mean? Or and there's some sort of respect to be gained in the academic field. And certainly there is, but I think I put a lot of pressure on myself to do that research, and I don't think everybody's wired for research.
Okay.
And so I admire the people that do the research and are good at it, and I love to read what they've written, and but I realized that really that's not for me, and it's not something that I was passionate about, and I was forcing myself to try to go in that direction. But it wasn't it. And so I think the residency program actually kind of helped me determine that, research is not for me. I just like the one-on-one patient care, working with the students, and that's probably why I kept TAing for such a long time. But
That's great.
Yeah.
How has being a student and teacher of naturopathic medicine affected your life?
It's gone through phases. So when I first graduated, I've always been into health and exercise and healthy eating and that kind of thing, but I didn't really realize how much healthier I could be actually. And so everyone would always tell me, you're so healthy, but actually I feel like now that I'm 40, I'm probably in the best shape.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
No idea.
Yeah. I feel like I'm in the best shape of my life, and I'm eating better than I've ever eaten. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I do have that balance. I have 2 children. And I'm able to help them make healthy choices, right? And I know if they're sick, what I can give them. And so it's helped me for my family as well as my practice. And it's also helped me to pursue other activities like sports that I probably wouldn't have, you know, if I hadn't become a naturopath.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How are you currently involved in the field of health, in the, as you said, in the profession?
Okay, so after I finished my residency, I TA'd a couple courses for a while. So I've TA'd primary care for many, many years, which I stopped doing a few years ago just to have a little bit more balance in my life. And I've TA'd MNIP. What else? PCD. Anyways, yeah. So so I have done that in the past. I also have been a supervisor in the clinic for a year. I did that full time as well, covering someone's maternity leave. So that was sort of like past, and now as my practice has grown, I just focused my my energy here at Meridian Spine and Sport, and as I said, my husband is a chiropractor, so we've had this place now. This is we're celebrating our 10th year this year.
Yes.
Yeah. So
awesome.
and then I also give seminars. I would say like the big thing I do in the community is to give seminars. I'm also I'm also the nutrition coach at CrossFit Arc. So I give nutrition presentations there regularly.
Okay. What do you feel can be gained from participating in the residency program?
I think the educator and becoming a teacher, even as a doctor now that I'm practicing, the way I can explain things, things like that, or you know, making sure people understand things. That's been useful. And like I said, I give lots of seminars. I've worked with high school teachers as well, doing presentations or different, you know, health challenges and, you know, organizing things. I think I gained some benefit from doing the residency program to do those types of events. What else did we do in residency? It's quite a bit different now, I think, than it was before. We did do some research, but there wasn't a big research focus when I took it. So a lot of it was TAing and some speaking. And we also took a teaching methodologies course.
Oh, cool.
Which is really useful as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the balance would be the most, you know, finding the balance. You can always make more money, but you don't always have the time to spend with, you know, once you have a family or get married or whatever. If not, even so, like to do the things that the hobbies. So I guess maintaining some hobbies and some activity, I think is important. I think exercise is super important, and it's not just because you know, studies say that you should exercise, but it really, really, truly is important for the mind and for your overall physical health. So, I think those are two new things, and also working close to home.
Okay.
I think is a huge thing.
Okay.
For any profession or anything that we do.
Okay. Can you expand more on that?
Sure. I think, well, part of the balance comes from having time. And so many of my patients travel, you know, from here to downtown, and they're traveling 3 hours a day. That's just a lot of time. I have found that I live, you know, a couple minutes drive from work. And so I've been able to go to my kids' whatever is going on at school. I can cut out during lunch and go see it and then come back to work. And so you don't lose out on work hours in that sense, but or go home for lunch. Like, how nice is it to go home for lunch?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes, your kitchen, your food.
Right, yeah, like it's you're in and just kind of have a downtime and then come back to work. And then doing community things in the area. I don't mind if patients see me in the neighborhood because they just will. I mean, that's where we all live. So so I personally don't mind it. So it's helped us as a family have balance. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And then our next group is current students of studying naturopathy.
Yes. I think the business thing always comes up, right? Running a business and you don't really realize, and I don't think it's even anything you can learn in the college. It's just stuff you learn as you go. And so being thorough and doing your research before you enter into any sort of agreement with clinics or whatever you're going to do, leases or anything like that. They don't really teach us all those things. But one thing I did do when I first graduated, which has been super helpful, and you can do this when you're a student also, is I took a Introduction to Desktop Publishing course at Seneca. It was an evening part-time program, and I learned how to use Photoshop and InDesign, and so I mean, I can't do my own website or anything like that, but I can make my own flyers, my own brochures and things like that. So not to have to pay for those things or just be able to do that quickly, business cards and things, has been super, super helpful. Yeah.
And that
Just
helps
a
you be
ton saver.
self-sufficient too.
Totally, like, window signage, anything, you can design all those things.
That's great.
And that was just like, a semester, once a week for a couple of hours. So it was, I did that as soon as I graduated. And honestly, it's been actually really, really good investment. Yeah.
That's excellent. Students who, they have it on their radar, but it might not be their first choice.
Yeah.
But because we have different students, some of them know, like right now, I really want to study it. Some of them are like, I'm still kind of looking around to see what I'm deciding upon. Yeah. So just like anybody who's considering it. Yeah. So kind of in that stage of, okay, I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Being a naturopath is really rewarding. Having the time to spend with patients is what I enjoy the most. And just trying to figuring out what's going on with them, which is what I find, there just isn't enough time for in the current medical system. And it's not always the fault of the medical docs, they just don't have time. There's so many people that need to see a doctor. And so I have a practice where now I have developed some relationships with medical docs, and they know that I have the time, and they trust me, and so they'll send their patients to me. And so, if someone out there is thinking, oh, well, this is very segregated in terms of naturopaths and doctors, and that's not always the case. There can exist truly like an integrative sort of relationship, right? And I think it all has to do with education. So, if someone's thinking of becoming a naturopath, it's really rewarding. The challenges are certainly the business part of it, because you have to, if you don't see patients, you don't make any money. And there's that realistic part of it. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. But the flexibility of being your own, self-employed is awesome. You can come and go as you want. So. Yeah.
What are you considering the residency program?
Well, what might one be thinking if they're like,
is this a good fit for me? Like, is this a good way to spend the next 2 years of my life? Rather than, like, why should I do, like, is this a good fit for, like, my personality? Is this going to be a good use of my time?
Okay.
Am I going to, like, is this a natural next step?
Okay.
Yeah.
So at first, when I did the residency program, which is 2 years, they took three of us.
Okay.
And at times I regretted it, because once I was done, I felt like my classmates were 2 years ahead of me in terms of building their practice. Okay. But what I gained from it, and so there is that sense, like you'll feel that. Yeah. You feel like they've gone and started. Not everyone will do it, but you feel like you're a bit behind. But mind you can start building your practice while you're a resident too. It's just, it was busy for me, and I didn't. It's busy. You're doing a lot of things. So realistically, actually, the realistic part is that you probably won't have like a thriving practice unless you're willing to work, ridiculous hours. So it's possible, but I felt like it was I wanted some more balance, so. Yeah. Anyways, it's a good fit for me because I did want to still contribute to the profession in some way, and I think it's a good way to do that. And if you don't necessarily want to practice, but maybe you want to do research, or do you want to keep teaching, this is a way to kind of like dabble in a bit of it and then see if, this is something you might want to do now or maybe in the future. So at least you know what it entails. But what was great actually out of the residency is that I made some connections with people. And out of the residency program, I met one of the wellness coordinators of the Canadian Tire Corporation at their head office at Young and Eglinton. And so I just kept in touch with this person. And when they decided to bring on site services, obviously he emailed me and he was like, well, we want to bring an on-site naturopath to come every week for our employees. And so I was there for almost 10 years, and that was a result of the residency program.
Yeah.
So you do
Fabulous,
have an opportunity to meet people and network in different ways than you wouldn't be able to in practice. Yeah.